welcome back everyone to another episode of How to Play series. I think it's episode number 5, and sorry it's been a long wait because I had university and had to get into the swing of things, so here is the next episode. Today what we're looking at is the bishop. So here I'll put on a white colored bishop and a black colored bishop, and so as everyone knows, bishops can only travel on the squares that it's on its color. So pretty much a bishop on the white colored square can only travel to white squares, and a bishop on the dark colored square can only travel to dark squares, and vice versa. So basically, if this bishop is on the dark colored square and this one is on a light colored square, then that means that this bishop can travel to dark colored squares and this bishop can travel to light colored squares. Okay, so that being said, let's look at how the bishops move. Now let's remove this bishop and put this one on d5. So bishops can only move in diagonals. So diagonals are the lines that go straight diagonally across the board. We can see that the bishop can move to e4, f3, g2 and h1, as well as c6, b7 and a8. The bishop can also move to c4, b3, a2, as well as e6, f7 and g8. So the bishop can travel to all those squares in terms of whether it can reach it directly in just one diagonal. So let's say the bishop wants to reach the g6 square, then the bishop can, in 2 moves, then the bishop can play bishop to f7 and then play bishop to g6. So now putting the bishop back on d5, let's say the bishop wants to travel to the b5 square. The bishop can go to c6 and go b5. It can also go to c4 and then b5. So that pretty much gives you a gist of how the bishops move. Now bishops, unlike the knights, cannot jump over pieces. So when the pawn is on f3, the bishop cannot go to g2. Another good thing about the bishop is that the bishop is a long range piece, meaning that it can attack all across the board, unlike the knight and the pawn. So this bishop is able to go straight down to a8 and control some squares over there. So as you can see, the bishop is a long range piece, meaning that it is important that you keep the center open when you have your bishops. So when the bishops are on the board, make sure to always try and keep the center open so that your bishops have maximum mobility even from these corner squares over here. As always, the bishops control more squares when they're in the center as well as any other piece. So it's always good to have bishops in the center, but usually players have it over here to try and save their bishop and also control the maximum amount of squares as possible in the opponent's area. So all these squares here, all these squares in the diagonal here in the opponent's area is controlled by this bishop over here. Bishop captures, obviously, when a pawn is on e4, when the bishop is on g2, the bishop can take the pawn on e4 just like so. And so with that being said, I'm going to set up a position where you can pause the video and then try to figure out how the bishop can take a piece in every single move. Remember, in these positions, black don't necessarily get a move. So here we go. Alright, so here is the position, and what I want you to do is try and solve it. Okay, so I think that's enough time to try and think about it if you had paused the video. So let's try and figure it out together. Bishop takes pawn, bishop takes pawn, bishop takes pawn, bishop takes pawn, 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 knight, bishop, sorry, knight, bishop, bishop, rook, rook, and queen. So that was pretty much how to solve it. If you missed that, you're welcome to go back and rewind the video. So that was just a small exercise with the bishop. Things to remember for the bishop is that bishops only move in diagonals. It can only stay on the colored square which it starts on. So if it's a light squared bishop, it can only go to light squares. If it's a dark squared bishop, then it can only go to dark squares. Bishops prefer open positions. They're worth 3 pawns as always. So compared to the knight, which is also worth 3 pawns, you can see that the bishop is a more active piece and hence used in open games, and the knight is a less active piece which only covers a smaller range of the board and hence prefers closed positions where it doesn't have to move that much. The knight can obviously jump over pieces, the bishop can't. And that's pretty much it. Okay, so that being said, thank you guys for watching. Go and check out some of the other series that I have on my channel. They're also quite interesting, if I do say so myself. I know you are beginners or people returning back to chess that want a quick run through course. So go check those out. Pretty interesting. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. The more people that you got get on here, more of your friends, you can start playing with your friends as well. So on and so forth. You can also do many other exciting things. So with that being said, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.